Hey, and welcome back to the second half of our history of the Golden Age of Batman. As I said in our last video, by the year 1943, Batman had become a phenomenon, and moved from existing just in comic books to also having his own newspaper strip and 15-part movie serial. Now, for those of you who are unaware, movie serials were the precursor to television. Audiences would go to their local movie theater week after week and pay an admission fee to watch their newest episode of the adventures of their favorite characters. So this movie serial starred Lewis Wilson as Batman / Bruce Wayne and Douglas Croft as Robin / Dick Grayson. And each episode would end in a nail-biting cliffhanger that was designed to draw the audience back week after week. But it should be noted that this 15-part series didn't have any recognizable Batman villain, but instead a brand new villain who was the diabolical Japanese criminal mastermind, Dr. Daka, who was played by J. Carrol Naish, who was, to be honest, little more than a broad piece of racist, anti-Japanese propaganda, mostly reflecting the ongoing war effort. That's not to say that the Batman comics were free from their own bigoted portrayals. Reflecting the mindset of the time, Batman's adventures were occasionally guilty of racist portrayals of Asian characters, often referring to them as Orientals, Chinamen, or Mongols. And oddly enough, the writers of Batman had no problem killing off these characters, as we see, Batman escaping his death by using an Asian assailant as a shock absorber when jumping through a window. There were also instances of cultural appropriation, such as, Batman taking on the role of a Native American chief. So female characters, on the other hand, were often little more than window dressing who were condescended down to. Bruce's fiancée, Julie Madison, who was once referred to as valuable property, was usually portrayed as either a damsel in distress or, worse, the unintelligent love interest / nag who was frustrated by Bruce's seeming lack of bravery. Even Catwoman wasn't immune to this behavior, as Batman, who was referring to himself as Papa in this instance, threatened to spank her like an errant child while he removed her disguise. Holy sexism, Batman. Luckily, as the years progressed, these portrayals largely diminished. Now, those of you who are already familiar with the Batman mythos might be wondering, why we have yet to mention Alfred Pennyworth, who is Bruce's butler and oldest friend. Well, the reason for this being is that Alfred wasn't even introduced until 1943. In Batman issue 16, when Alfred arrives at Wayne Manor, saying that he is the son of Thomas Wayne's former butler Jarvis, he has basically come to continue his service to the Wayne's family. However, he quickly deduces Batman and Robin's identity and takes up his position as butler. However, the Alfred that we see in the comics was portrayed as a portly and clean-shaven gentleman, intended as comic relief. But he was soon redesigned to better resemble William Austin, who was the lean and mustachioed actor who played him during the Batman movie serial. In a more recent adaptations, Alfred has been portrayed as Bruce's legal guardian since the death of his parents, and has been complicit in Bruce's transformation into the Batman. As the war came to an end in September of 1945, and we move into the late 1940s, we are witness to a few more changes in the history of Batman. By 1946, the Batman newspaper strip had run its course, and was ended, once again bringing the full comic book adventures back into focus. While in the year 1948, we are introduced to two more of Batman's recurring villains, the first being the Riddler, who with his question mark onesie made his puzzling debut in Detective Comics 140. And in Batman number 49, the story Scoop of the Century would not only introduce the Alice in Wonderland-inspired villain, the Mad Hatter, aka Jervis Tetch, but would also bring one of Batman's most enduring love interests, photographer Vicky Vale, into the fold. We should also take note that throughout the 1940s, Batman's arsenal continued to grow, as we are shown two different Batmobiles, one a simple roadster, and the other displaying a bat-headed battering ram, a Batboat, a Bat submarine, as well as the legendary Batcave, which readers were actually given a tour of by Batman's own creator, Bob Kane, in issue 5 of Real Fact Comics, published in 1946. In Batman issue 63, another interesting but lesser-known villain, Killer Moth, made his debut. A prisoner known only by his prison number, 234026, took on the false identity of Cameron Van Cleer and set out to become the anti-Batman. Using a moth motif, Van Cleer copied the Dark Knight by not only creating his own garish wing costume, but also constructing a mothmobile, a moth cave, and many other gadgets to aid in his criminal adventures. So another bit of important Batman history that took place around this time was the story The Man Behind the Red Hood from Detective Comics issue 168, which was published in 1951. So this story chronicled the criminal activities of the thief, the Red Hood, who, while attempting to rob a chemical plant, is cornered on a walkway by Batman. Seeing no other way to escape, the Red Hood dove into a basin of chemicals and swam to freedom. His dome-like hood that he wore allowed him to survive such an act, but the chemicals in the vat permanently disfigured him. Revealing to the readers his new face with its green hair and unnaturally white skin and red lips, we realize that what we have just read is the origins of Batman's greatest foe, the Joker. Pretty cool, huh? Now, as we mentioned in our primer, an anti-comic book movement began to sweep the nation in 1954 with the help of psychiatrist Frederick Wertham and his book Seduction of the Innocent. So Batman in particular was targeted, as Wertham claimed that the comics portrayed Batman and Robin as a gay couple. Now, while there are some comic panels, such as this one, which shows Bruce and Dick waking up in the same bed, that might suggest or support a gay interpretation of the dynamic duo, Wertham's theory that reading such comics would lure children into a homosexual lifestyle was ultimately proved to be flawed. Later examinations of Wertham's research would show that the psychiatrist manipulated, overstated, compromised, and completely fabricated evidence in order to support his theories. Now, nowadays, most people recognize that A, homosexuality is a normal manifestation of sexuality in nature and nothing to be afraid of, and B, it is not a choice or lifestyle that one can be coerced into. Unfortunately, during the 1950s, people were much more intolerant and fearful of what they didn't understand or believed to be, morally wrong. This resulted in the creation of the Comics Code Authority that regulated the content inside comics like never before. But with some targeted family-friendly tweaks, Batman continued to be published. So one of the most noticeable changes was the addition of several new characters that would give Batman's adventures a bit more of a wholesome feel. The first ally to boost Batman's cleaner image was DC's own superstar, Superman himself. Now, though Batman and Superman had shared the cover of World's Finest / World's Best comics since the 1940s, and had appeared together on Superman's radio show in 1945, and had also met earlier in the comic book Superman 76, where they learned each other's secret identities, it wasn't until 1954 in World's Finest Comics number 71 that the two would actually work together. So this team-up became a staple of World's Finest Comics. But to make sure that Batman wasn't outshined by his superpowered counterpart, the gimmick of having the heroes somehow have their abilities switched would pop up several times over the years. Starting in 1955, with the issue 77 of World's Finest Comics being the first instance of this. In the following year, in Batman 92, the writers followed in Superman's footsteps by adding the character Ace the Bat Hound to mirror Superman's own canine ally, Crypto. Also during this year, DC launched a new anthology series entitled The Brave and the Bold. This series would focus on adventures from different times and would eventually feature Batman, who debuted in issue 68. He would quickly become the title staple character, replacing the rotating array of other characters, just going to prove how popular he was. In June of 1956, as the golden age of comics came to a close, Batman published its 100th issue. and in the following Detective Comics issue 233, added the first female crime fighter to the Batman family, Kathy Kane, aka the Batwoman. Introduced to help offset Wertham's claims of Batman's homosexuality, Batwoman was portrayed as a female rival to Batman's crime-fighting prowess. Though on the same side of the law, Batwoman and the dynamic duo didn't initially work together, but through mutual benefit, the group soon started to work in tandem. So that brings us to the end of the Golden Age and this video, but before I go, here are 5 more Golden Age Batman facts to impress your friends with. So, first off, for quite a while, the city that Batman was working out of wasn't identified, or if it was referred to as New York. However, in 1941, a panel showing a newspaper called the Gotham Gazette cemented Bruce's hometown as the now infamous Gotham City. Second point, in 1952, Bruce briefly became mayor of Gotham City in Detective Comics 179, and had to deal with an imposter Batman while he was in office. The story Batman of All Nations in Detective Comics 215 saw Batman train crime fighters from all over the globe, including Italy's Legionary and France's The Musketeer. Bruce also had an extended family, including his Aunt Agatha, who on a trip to Gotham actually unmasked Batman in front of a bunch of people, but simply thought that Bruce was playing around, and luckily everybody bought it. Finally, in one story, we see that Dick Grayson was not actually the first Robin, as that title actually first was given to Bruce as a young man, as he worked under a detective known as Harvey Harris. He helped him with his investigations and actually donned the exact same costume that Dick would soon wear. Pretty cool, huh? So thanks again for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe to New World Slackers for the next segment in this series where we'll dive deep into the Silver Age of Batman. Also, if you like this show, why not check out our other shows, such as our Game of Thrones lore show, A Cup of Ice and Fire, or Harvey and Jill's Not So Perfect Reviews, as we've got so much more cool stuff to show you, and that's going to be coming out. Also, if you have any questions or awesome bits of Batman trivia that you want to share, that we might have missed, leave us a comment, and we'd love to hear from you. So thanks again, and we hope to see you soon.